Fit FM 96.7. Your life, your music.
Under the pressures of your life and it tough. Now stay down, mama, time pick it up.
Do you operate a small business in Trelawney? Well, talk to us. Be a proud community partner of Fit FM 96.7. Let us help you reach your target audience for an unbelievably low cost. Contact our sales office today at 876-544-0791, 876-377-3442, or email us at fitfmsales@gmail.com. Fit FM 96.7, Trelawney's radio. Your life, your music.
Take this up, we mean this. Yeah, so you come get your tablet. And all when you left and you happy come back on me. Know you happy by one of them your laptop. Best of business, a serious business. We sell all electrical appliances. And all of your car accessories. Come a bed stop, you know no problem.
Best Apps Technology, Shop 25, Champion Plaza, Falmouth, Trelawney. Telephone 876-394-5484. Best Apps, we only deliver the best.
Do you have home repairs or maybe a renovation? How about a fresh coat of paint with a splash of customized color? Visit Carib Sales Hardware in Duncan's Trelawney and let us help you with everything you need for your home. You name it, we have it. Call us at 876-954-2220. Carib Sales Hardware. You name it, we have it.
It was David Vitter who said, "If children are given the necessary tools to succeed, they will succeed beyond their wildest dreams." Young Achievers on Fit FM 96.7. Monday at 7:30 a.m. inside Morning Connection. Young Achievers is designed to highlight the positive achievements of young Jamaicans from all walks of life who are excelling despite the odds. Young Achievers, inside Morning Connection on Fit FM 96.7. Your life, your music.
Oliver's Pharmacy, located at 26 Market Street, Falmouth, is your friendly community pharmacy. Fill your prescriptions, get personal advice, gifts, over-the-counter medicines, cholesterol, blood pressure, and blood sugar tests. Opening hours Mondays to Saturdays 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Sundays 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Telephone 876-617-3779. Oliver's Pharmacy, a proud community partner of Fit FM 96.7. Your life, your music.
The Heart Place and Wellness Center, located at 103 Main Street in Ocho Rios, now has a new location at 21 Queen Street in Falmouth, Trelawney, offering ECG, echocardiograms, stress test, 24-hour blood pressure monitoring, and adult cardiology consultations. Our opening hours are Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. To schedule an appointment, call 876-417-5164, 876-228-8124, or email us at info@theheartplaceja.com. With a healthy heart, the beat goes on.
Are you struggling with loneliness? Feeling depressed? Are you searching for a purpose to live? Are you ready to tap into your inner greatness? Ready to soar to your full potential? Come and be inspired. Join me, Dr. Asha Mwendo, on Healing Moment inside Gospel and Soul every Wednesday, 6 p.m., where we will help you to understand your purpose. We will help you to find your wind. We'll show you how to open your wings and fly. Healing Moments, Fit FM 96.7, your life, your music. Good evening, my people. How are you this evening? What an awesome time to be alive. Great things are happening, and some good, some bad. But guess what? We are here to witness the process and enjoy the journey, right? So guess what? I am Dr. Asha Mwendo, your host for this evening on Healing Moments on Fit FM 96.7, your life, your music. And can I tell you that this evening Healing Moments is brought to you by Plant Gallery out of Cary Park, and you are listening to us on Fit FM 96.7. And remember now, you can find us on all social media platforms and on your radio. And if all of that fails, you can listen to us streaming live on fitfmja.com. And I'm going to, based on some feedback I'm getting, I'm going to stress a little bit on this part now. With the numbers I'm giving you, or WhatsApp number, and then the other number that you can WhatsApp, call live, or message on, these numbers we are inviting you to interact with us, because Healing Moments is an interactive program. And I love the feedbacks I get after the show. I appreciate them. But sometimes I wish you'd call in or message in while we are on air with these messages, or put them on the WhatsApp, on the Facebook page, that we can share them. Because guess what? Sometimes the very thing you want to talk about, somebody else want to hear it, but they are not brave enough to bring it forward, or they never thought of the need that they have until you raise it. And so guess what? I love the feedback. I love the interaction afterwards, but you can partner with us straight this evening on our WhatsApp number, which is 876-482-4944, or on this number now you can call, message, or WhatsApp. It's 876-317-1991. And so therefore, remember, you don't have to wait until tomorrow or tonight to give me your feedback. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate them, I love them, and it helps me. However, I would want it to help others too. So put your questions in, and sometimes when our guests are on and you have these questions, if you ask them same time, then the guest can answer. So you will get to answer. And so I hope you're getting it. We want to hear from you. We want to interact with you. We want to ensure that we are serving you the way you deserve to be served, right? And so, as I said before, and every week, Healing Moments join with the call for elimination of violence against women and girls. My guest this evening is Natasha Robinson. You will hear a little more about her later on. And we are talking about laws and policies and how they interact with domestic or gender-based violence. And so you know the drill. At this time, you're going to call a friend, get your pen, get your sip, and listen to this until we come right back.
Let it be real.
Let it be real.
Let it be real.
Let it be real.
Whatsoever
you do for the
oh Lord,
let it be real. Let it be real.
oh let it be real.
Let it be real.
Let it be real.
Let it be real.
Oh, whatsoever.
You do
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
let it be real.
Real.
Let it be real.
Oh, when you sing your song,
Let it be real.
when you're walking alone, whatsoever. my granny was here today. These are the words I believe she'd say, y'all. Whatsoever you gotta do it from your heart, baby. Stay right there. Stay right there. You gotta stay there. Stay right there. Let it be real. Let it be real. Ooh, Lord. Let it be real. Whatever you do, y'all, do it from your heart.
Yes, welcome right back. It's good to guess what? Let it be real. We have to keep it real. And that's what we do on Healing Moments. We keep it real. And we're asking you to partner with us as we keep it real. Okay. So guess what now? In my Let's Talk session, let's go. One of the things I want to talk about this evening is Plant Gallery. Plant Gallery have decided to sponsor this week's program, and we are appreciative of this. If you're out there, you're listening, you can sponsor different segments and different programs. We appreciate it on Healing Moments because it only goes to a good cause, right? So let me tell you a little bit about Plant Gallery. They do say they have plants for sale, and they also do rentals for special occasions, right? And I tell you, I went to the nursery. They have some lovely, lovely plants. Later on in the program, I'll give you a number of the plants that they have. But I know they have orchid and a whole lot of other plants. You know, the one I called first, the one I love. So if you want to give me something for Mother's Day, you can order one, right? And so they also do wrapping for the plants, and they do for birthdays and any special occasion you want to take something to the sick, they are right on board. Graduation, they are there. But for this week, I want to tell you about the special that they are running for Mother's Day that is coming up. And we know we like to treat our mothers well. So if you want to partner with Plant Gallery in order to support them and also to give your mom a living gift that will go on and on, you can contact Clifton Davy or Faye Davy at 876-471-4448 or 876-793-9132. You can also email them at faydavy@yahoo.com. And guess what? They're serving you out of Carey Park. And as we go along this evening, I'll tell you a little bit more about them as we continue. But bear it in mind that this evening we're coming to you courtesy of Plant Gallery, right? Remember now, they're out of Carey Park, and you can call them on their numbers that I will give you again in a little while. Mother's Day is coming up. Treat your mom well. And as we say that, we have specials. So for next week, we're going to offer 2 gifts for the persons who will call in. So we're going to give you a gift. If you put it on the WhatsApp, it don't count. If you put it on the Facebook, it don't count. You must call in next week. And so on next week's program, you call in, and the first person that call in to wish their mom happy Mother's Day will get a gift of a plant. And the second special we're giving out for next week is the first person to call in to big up a teacher that is doing very well will also get a gift to give to their special teacher. And I will tell you that at the end. So guess what? Big things are happening right here. So, and I gave you the numbers earlier, but I'll ensure I give them to you again later on. The next thing I want to talk about, and let us talk, is we know COVID-19 is still running rampant. We're asking us to do what we can. The numbers don't seem to be too bad now. I didn't look at them today to see what yesterday was like. But let us all do what we need to do. I have a little pet peeve, though. We have curfew going on. And sometimes I am not sure. Sunday and Saturday, I was not sure if curfew was still keeping. Because we know curfew is supposed to start on Saturday at 4, and people were on the road up and down on all 10 o'clock. Me hear noise, bike and everything on the road, free for all, where I live. Don't talk about Sunday. They just didn't remember anything about curfew hours. And so we need to be partner with the process that we can get the end result we seek, right? I will not stop saying that. And of course, Healing Moments continue to ask you to partner with us with Wellness in Motion as we try to support our women and children who are affected by intimate partner violence. And I'm making sure I say intimate partner violence this time and not just domestic violence, because the children are also impacted when you have intimate partner violence, because they get the side effect. They are there. It affects them mentally and emotionally, and it spins out into their growth and into their adult lives. So we have to correct it. We have to fix it, right? And we need your support in order to continue doing that. We accept your cash and we accept your kind. And for those who have been supporting my birthday call, I thank you for your support. It is so appreciated. I can't tell you how happy I am that you have been partnering with me. Then now, for those who have promised but have not yet come in on your promise, we are still waiting. We still love you and we still appreciate your support. So still touch base with us. We will surely accept your help, right? Now, this we continue having the challenge with domestic partner violence, gender-based violence, and intimate partner violence, and I am talking them separately. And I don't want anybody to ask me when I talk about intimate partner violence and gender-based violence to ask me about man I get abused too. We know it, but guess what? Women are the ones who are suffering the most, and so therefore, if you come to me with that kind of a story, I might just have to flip the script and show you my crazy side. Because I do have one, I just know how to manage it as a psychologist, you see. And then there's another question I want to touch just before I transition. I hope Queen G will hear, because she might have to continue the conversation on that one. The question was asked of me this evening because apparently someone saw it on Facebook and they decided to draw me into it. So I went on Facebook and I saw the question. I did give a feedback. But the question was asked, is it okay to date while you are separated? My answer to that is you can't be window shopping and putting things on higher purchase and lay away to buy when you know you are not able to buy. Separated is not divorce. You're still married. You can't move no further until you do something. And dating is about preparing and planning to move forward. And I hear some people put up, as long as you're honest. Honest to say what? We're having some fun that is not going anywhere. We don't have no time for that these days. Don't date unless you are available to date, right? It's not right. And that's my opinion and my take on it, though. We can have further conversation. So ding me up and let me hear what you think about it. And so this evening, I see my guest is already on.
Hi.
Welcome, beautiful Natasha. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I am awesome myself. Nastasia. Pronounce your name for me properly, child.
It's actually Nastasia, and I'm laughing because everybody gets it wrong. I've contemplated going by just Nas Robinson, but it's not fair to my mother. She did a good job with me.
No, it's not fair. It's not fair
but it is Nastasia, but don't feel bad. Everybody gets it wrong on the first try.
And I don't want to be like everybody,
It's Nastasia.
Anyway, I corrected myself. Awesome. So Nastasia Lady Robinson, it is so good to have you. I want to thank Auntie Joy for introducing us. And for the peeps who were saying that they want part 2, this is part 2 of domestic violence, even though Auntie Joy is not on this week. And next week will be part 3. We'll be continuing the conversation and Auntie Joy will come back. But we are looking at a very important aspect of it, and that Nastasia Robinson is most able to do this topic because I don't have a legal bone in my body, but I have not a lot of opinion legal bone in my body. But as Nastasia will tell us, opinion cannot go to court. So
only to an extent. Very small extent. Very small extent.
Very small extent.
Can only inform you so much.
And no further. Not true? Mm-hmm. Yes. So this evening, together, we will discuss some of what is existing. We will tell our grievances and we cuss a little bit too if necessary. And so, Nastasia, tell the people who you are. Tell us a little bit more than just your name.
Okay, so I am Nastasia Robinson. I am an attorney. I am a legal officer at Jamaicans for Justice. And outside of that, I'm just in general a human rights lawyer and advocate. My work is fundamentally in gender-based violence, and I work with other vulnerable groups, key populations. Um, I think professionally that is, I have three dogs, so bear with me if you hear them barking from
That's all
time to
right.
time. They do that. I will just, they're currently sleeping, but I am a dog mother of three. And I think that's truly the best job I have, to be honest.
Okay, then you see, so girl, I don't have not even. Well, me have some lizards at home, so I'm
Love
not gonna
lizards.
have nothing. I have some
Love
lizards
them.
on my plants, them. So I have pet too. Is not you one, right? So this evening we are here to talk about law in the light of domestic violence, intimate partner
Yeah,
violence, gender-based violence. So, from
yeah.
you, what are the laws that are out there that would cover this area, and how does it support the process, and how is it influenced towards supporting our women? Because that's my pet peeve right now.
All right. So I
Yes.
love how you opened this discussion, warning your listeners about what we're talking about, gender-based violence, right?
Man, what?
Right. On cue, I'm telling you.
Telling you they hear your voice.
So gender-based violence speaks to violence that is perpetuated towards a particular gender. It could be male, it could be female. As it is in Jamaica and most countries, it is women and girls that are most affected by violence in this way, by gender-based violence. And that's simply violence based on your gender or something or affiliated with your gender. And so when we talk about gender-based violence, we are talking about the disproportionate a level of violence that is meted out to women and girls. We
Yes.
so when we talk about the laws now that protect our women and girls, you know, a lot of people love to ask this question still about the men, but
Oh
there are
yes.
no special laws that protect women from violence, right? There are laws that protect people from violence, but because women are disproportionately affected by certain kinds of crimes, these
Yes.
acts are more or most likely to be used in the situation where violence has occurred against a woman or girl. So, for example, the Domestic Violence Act. The Domestic Violence Act is an act that protects everyone in the home. Domestic speaks to
Yes.
home. And so the Domestic Violence Act gives redress to anyone within a home setting that is affected by violence. This is a grandmother, a child, two friends who live in a house together who have no familial relationship,
Mm-hmm.
um, a man and a woman living together as husband and wife, or just a visiting relationship. Any kind of violence that deals with that close knit family setting is a domestic violence situation. And so
Mm-hmm.
the Domestic Violence Act gives protection for those circumstances. Now,
Mm-hmm.
why it might seem that the Domestic Violence Act protects women more is because women are disproportionately affected by domestic
Most times they
violence,
think.
particularly intimate partner violence, right?
Mhm.
And kind of violence where we see men beating and killing women, that's raping their girlfriends, that sort of thing. And so we have the Domestic Violence Act, which is the most popular act that is used, especially in relation to intimate partner violence.
Yeah.
Let me go to the positives, right?
Yes, please.
So this act gives essentially two kinds of protection to persons who make applications under this act. There's a protection order that can be that you can get under this act, and there's also an occupation order. A protection order is what we know on TV as restraining order. A protection order, right. So what a protection order does is it it empowers the court to tell your abuser, whoever it may be, that they ought not to come within certain distance to you.
Yes.
Or they're not supposed to call and harass you. They're not supposed to show up at your workplace, at your school. They're not supposed to emotionally traumatize you, that sort of thing. It's a restraint. It's supposed to keep this person away from you, thereby reducing and eliminating the kind of violence that they exercise towards you.
Okay.
Right? And this, like I said, anyone who lives in a home with an abuser can apply under the Domestic Violence Act. And how you do that is you get an attorney, or you show up to a family court and you explain to the persons in the office there that you wish to take out a protection order, and they're very helpful. They will help you with that.
Okay.
The second option, the second kind of protection you have under the Domestic Violence Act is the occupation order. Occupation order is one where the court says that gives the abused person, the victim, the power to stay within the residence of the home or wherever it is that you live, and orders the abusers to leave that place and not be there and go somewhere else. Along with that occupation order, the court may also make a maintenance order. So let me explain how this might work.
Yes.
Take, for example, an instance where a husband and wife, and they have children, and the husband is abusive to the wife and the children, and the wife has nowhere else to go.
Right.
And she's like, well, if I move, I really need to get away from him. He's abusing me and the children. We really do need to get away from him, but I can't disrupt the children's life because they go to school in this community. This is where their family is, what have you. And the court will investigate, will order the husband to find somewhere else to go for the duration of the order. The court, the act is silent on how long an occupation order can last, and so it's up to the judge's discretion to say how long that such an order will can last. With the protection order, if it is breached, a victim can go to a police station or report the breach to a police station. The abuser who has breached the protection order can be arrested, and he can be fined up to $10,000. Yes, I know, $10,000 chump change, pin 2 times and you find that and gone about your business, right?
I'm gonna do it again. Sure.
So yes, the fine is $10,000 or 6 months in prison. But most people just going to spend the $10,000 and move on with their lives. So the Domestic Violence Act is one of the most used acts in terms of when we talk about intimate partner violence. That's one of the most used legislations that we see. The issues I have with the Domestic Violence Act is, number one, it doesn't treat domestic violence as a criminal act. It treats domestic violence as a civil matter, which is problematic.
It's not right.
When in an ordinary case where a man beat up, where 2 people get in a fight, they are charged under the Offenses Against the Persons Act, then go criminal court, and the court deals with it. As far as the Domestic Violence Act goes, it is left up to, and in a criminal matter, it is the prosecution that proves the case, and the victim is only there to give their evidence.
Right.
Under the Domestic Violence Act, it is the victim who has to bring their evidence, bear the labor of that trial or
so
of that
kind of victimize the victim all over again.
Further, because the system is can be intimidating, not to all persons, but it can be intimidated. To someone who is very shy and timid and not so sure about their cooking, it can be very off-putting. And so that is one of the major problems I tend to have with the Domestic Violence Act. But don't knock it. Protection orders are very useful, and they are oftentimes used in tandem with the Offences Against the Persons Act. Now, the Offences Against the Persons Act is also another general act under which deals with all kinds of offences against the persons: murder, um, manslaughter, where you beat somebody, assault and battery, assault occasioning bodily harm, all that physical type of violence is
Okay.
dealt with under the Offences Against the Persons Act, right? That's what it is. And so what this does is where a person suffers from intimate partner violence, like physical violence,
Mm-hmm.
they can report the matter to the police and an investigation be launched as it respect to the kind of physical violence that you would have endured.
Okay.
Issue with how this act is applied with GBV matters is
Mm-hmm.
that, again, domestic violence is seen as a man and woman story. So even if the woman show up sometimes, and it's not all police stations do that, so I don't want police who are listening to feel like I'm attacking them, but there are instances where women or girls show up to the station bloodied, obviously physically traumatized, and
Yes.
it is not treated under the Offences Against the Persons Act. It is treated under the Domestic Violence Act. And the reason for that is because it is an intimate partner violence situation, right? So that is one of the discrepancy that tends to happen when women seek redress or persons seek redress under the Offences Against the Persons Act, when it is also relates to intimate partner violence.
Okay, so that's
Um,
just before you move on.
yes,
We want to understand now. A woman turn up at court at the police station,
yes,
and the possibility exists that they could have just used the offense against the person and go lock up the man. But most
yes.
times now they are taking the option of saying it's intimate partner, and so it is not dealt with because
Right.
intimate partner
So
would have,
sometimes what will happen?
yes.
Right. So sometimes what will happen? The woman come in bloody. No, but who beat you up? Once she says, my baby father, my husband, anything along those lines, they start to tell her that she needs to go to the family court because it is a family matter. And that's the problem generally with gender-based violence, right? It
Yes.
is especially intimate partner violence, it is treated like man and woman business. And it's not, it's a criminal offense, right?
Yes.
And it should be treated as such. Because if you go next door and you thief your neighbor things,
Mm.
right? The fact that you and your neighbor are friends doesn't soften the blow that it's a crime.
No.
You understand? And so the fact that the violence is being meted out to you by someone within your family, someone who you are close to, shouldn't soften the blow of how the law treats with it. But very often it does. And what that does sometimes is it further intimidates the victim,
Mm.
right? Because another issue is that sometimes another issue that can arise is that when a male breaches, or a man breaches the protection order or the occupation order, it's
Yeah.
also sometimes very hard to even get redress from that. So then breach it, police hardly even want to lock them up to do anything about it. And
Mm-hmm.
then you drag the woman through a whole hearing. It's not as simple as he breached it, you go to court, and you have to actually do a hearing where the judge hears the evidence, which is, everybody is entitled to that sort of free trial, free hearing thing. But it further puts the victim through trauma, you
And
know?
then, Anastasia, while you are waiting on that court date to go to court,
Yeah, anything
a
can
lot of things
happen.
can be happening in between.
Yes.
So
And
it's
it has
really, really a
happened.
challenge.
It has happened because let me tell you something. A person who is driven by violence and who is intent on inflicting violence, no local protection order not going to stop them.
Yes.
Promise you, it's not going to stop them. The
It's
threat
so
of having to pay $10,000 or it's not going to stop anybody. And so we have that recurring issue. But a lot of women just in the first place don't want to have to go to court and be the one who is standing up who's standing up
to
there and
defend
telling the court that
themselves.
this is why I need protection. They don't want to do that. So that is one of the reasons why we have programs such as Jamaicans for Justice,
Right.
and other legal programs that assist women with this process, because we understand how intimidating it can be, you
Yes.
know. So those are some of the challenges. Now, one good thing that happened
Mhm.
last week, I will say, is that we've been complaining a lot about the inefficiencies of the Domestic Violence Act. First of all, it doesn't even define what domestic violence is.
That again.
It doesn't, and it doesn't outline what the different kinds of domestic violence are, how these can be meted. The fine is absolutely too low. The punishment is too low. This
Yes.
whole idea of women having to be the one to prosecute this issue is also another issue. And so we really welcome Minister Grange's announcement last week that changes are coming to the act. We hope to see those changes very,
Right.
very, very soon. Have been talking about them for ages, and so we
Mhm.
hope that we soon see those amendments coming soon to make the act more fulsome and more do what it said it's supposed to do:
Yes.
protect people from violence in their homes.
Yes. And for me, Nastasia, when the law becomes strong and have teeth, it will
Yes,
also serve as a deterrent and a
yes,
protection that persons would not want to be bitten by this strong law. And so therefore you
absolutely.
will see persons thinking twice before acting.
Absolutely. And to be perfectly honest, my personal opinion is
Mhm.
that the Domestic Violence Act should not play out in a family court. If it's
No.
a criminal matter, it shouldn't play out in a family court,
No.
especially when there are violent aspects of it. It really shouldn't.
Yes.
It really
Because
should be
it's
something that
true.
plays out in the
It's
criminal
true.
court.
It is true.
Um, because it is violence, and the way that it intimidates people,
Mhm.
it shouldn't be treated as a family issue, because that's what family courts are for, family issues. But
Yeah.
domestic violence is larger than it's not just an argument that may I have. It is, you are affecting my livelihood, my existence, my constitutional right of existing in a peaceful
You are
place.
physically harming me.
You are physically harming me, yes. Physically and otherwise, because physical
Yeah.
violence is not the only
Yes,
kind
I'm
of
saying,
violence that takes place.
right. But somebody could beat you up and then go to family court. And family court is important. It's not a less, I'm not going to say it
It,
diminishes, but
no,
it diminishes
absolutely not. It's very
it,
important.
it diminishes the act, the criminal act.
Yes, yes. In some cases, it does. Some families, the violence hasn't reached a level where it is damaging,
Mhm.
to some extent, and so the family court is not such a bad place for it. But you have some families that have been going to the family court for years, and
Yes,
all you're doing is getting this protection order for a year, and it expires. You keep on coming back, and it's because the consequence of it is not severe enough to deter, and it is not treated as serious a crime as
yes.
other crimes.
And that is one of our challenges. I just want
Yes,
to remind my listeners that this is Dr. Asha Mwendo on Healing Moments, and you're listening to me and my guest this evening, Nastasia Robinson. She's
hmm,
a lawyer and an advocate, and she works with JFJ. And she is here with us this evening, airing out what our laws are to protect our women and children and anybody else that is affected by domestic
yeah.
violence and intimate partner violence. So keep listening in and share the link. Tell others to come on and listen on all our platforms. all social media platforms, and you can listen to us live on fitfmja.com. I'm saying hi to all my international listeners as we continue. All right, Nastasia,
Yes.
continue, my dear.
So we spoke about the Domestic Violence Act, and we
Yeah,
touched on the Offenses Against the Person Act. I want to also touch on the Sexual Offences Act. Now again, sexual offenses is another area that affects both men and women. But
right.
what we see is that sexual offenses are perpetuated at a greater extent against women and girls than
Mm-hmm.
than it is against men and boys, right?
Right.
And so that is another area of law that is used a lot when there are instances of gender-based violence. And so some of the offenses that are protected, that are catered for under the Sexual Offences Act, is, for example, rape.
Mm-hmm.
Rape is defined legally as where a man has sexual intercourse with a woman without her permission or without her knowing consent. As a
Before you
human rights
explain.
advocate, that's a very problematic definition
For
for me.
me too, it's a problem for me because rape can be, you can use one button, you can use anything.
Right, but those instances are classified as grievous sexual assault.
Thank you. And that can be right.
Right. And well, my issue genuinely concerns me is that it excludes the possibility of a man being raped. And I think sexual
True, true. And
intercourse
we know
where
it
there is
does
no
happen.
consent is rape.
And it do happen.
Period. Full stop. But
Mhm.
legally, as it stands, there has been recommendation, I know, by the Joint Select Committee that this definition of rape be extended.
Mhm.
It has not, that recommendation has not yet been accepted, and so we carry on with this definition. We also have marital rape, which until recently was
Mhm.
a thing where a man couldn't ordinarily rape his wife, meaning having sex without her consent,
Consent.
unless in specific instances. Again, some amendments are being accepted in Parliament where it is saying that a man can, in any instance, rape his wife so long as she doesn't consent to it. So
Correct.
women and girls are predominantly affected by sexual offenses, rape,
Yeah.
indecent touching, uncles, brothers, cousins, family, friends touching young girls, raping young girls, raping friends, that sort of thing. And so the Sexual Offences Act is also another act that treats with that kind of the sexual violence that affects women and girls under the umbrella of gender-based violence. Right? We also have the Sexual Harassment Bill
Yes.
coming soon to a courtroom near you. We don't know when.
Yes. And before you go further on that one,
Yes,
I'm really disappointed
yes,
that we are still having this thing coming after
yes,
all these years.
yeah,
It should have reached
yeah,
now.
yeah.
What tell us
And what's
about
more disappointing is that it takes so long for come and it doesn't even cover all the areas that it needs to cover. But hey,
it?
alas, so yes. So the
The
sexual,
challenge I have with it before you go on. Remember
yeah,
your
man, no problem.
healing moments on Fit FM 96.7, brought to you by Plant Gallery. One of the challenge I have too is the unwillingness of our lawmakers to really call a spade a spade.
Yeah,
They keep edging around the topics and trying to gentle out the edges as if you're deliberately trying to protect people.
I I don't know. It's a disappointing reality that we look at as
Yes.
someone who sits at the table a lot when these discussions come up.
Mhm.
It is tiring to hear about, because the thing is, when you go into a room with our lawmakers and you sit down and you discuss these things, they
Mhm.
are very passionate. They're as passionate as me and you about it. They're as aggrieved about it as you and I are. They
Mhm.
are as angry. They are as militant, and they want the change to come. But for some reason, when we step outside of those doors, it just,
It's as if they have stage fright.
yeah, it is as if they have stage fright. They will tell you that it's not just the laws passed, but I'm so, not. I see
For
other
me,
laws
it's as if
passed
sometimes they are
in
afraid to.
record time.
Yes.
So
These
I don't know about it
red paper taking
being,
too long fit on law.
yeah, right. And so I'm happy to see that Minister Green, she has led the charge with the sexual harassment bill. I am happy to see that she has stuck with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I am happy to see or to hear that she is now taking the charge of making sure that there are amendments, the myriad of amendments that we've been pushing for over the years are
Yes.
now being considered. And we hope that it won't take a long donkey years to see it happening.
Listen to me. I am one of the time I was feeling a little hopeless that this is never going to happen. But now it
Yeah.
looks like it is about to happen. And for this, I am thankful. I am of the
Hmm.
opinion, and I keep saying it. I believe gender, this portfolio of that deals with gender at all its levels, I believe this is the only portfolio Miss Green should have. And all the other portfolio, sports and all those things should be given to somebody else. I believe this is a big thing, and it is enough work alone by itself that she could just do that alone. And I think maybe would get more. I don't know. She have maybe too much different things on her plate, and we normally know you shouldn't mix your too much variety in one meal.
Yeah, I absolutely think that ministry is too big and it
Yes.
spreads the focus too much. I think what the government needs to do, perhaps if we had some kind of synchronity, is that a word? Synchronization. If we had some advancement in terms of
Mhm.
how gender is viewed, in terms of gender advancement, both
Yes.
where women are marginalized and both where men are marginalized. If we had some advancement in respect of those areas, then we could probably lump it with something else.
Right.
But I think for now, when there's so much work to be done in the area of gender, so much learning and unlearning, and so many legislations to fix and reclaim
Yes.
and all of that, I really think that at this moment, what we need is stronger focus. It shouldn't be in a ministry that has so many other focus and focuses that just on the other side,
Right,
like
because
completely have nothing to
that
do
is
with
it. The
gender at
focuses are
all.
congruent.
It's like it was an afterthought. Whoop, we forgot gender. Let's slap it onto something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically how it's treated in Parliament too. Sad to say.
And I don't know. I believe on the advocacy level, when they are doing their shuffling and they're doing their thing, we should advocate that gender be placed simply by itself. I am not
And
saying
even if not by itself, because they will argue about
or
space,
or
put
with
it with
something
something
that
where
fits
the
with it.
focuses aren't so divorced,
Yes.
so separate.
Hmm. I
Yeah.
believe some changes need to be done because I am not saying Miss Grange is not the wonderful person for the portfolio.
Yes.
I think she have done a lot. So give her
Hmm.
that alone and something else
And
that fits along with
she's
it.
a member of parliament that I think works. She
Yes,
works.
she
So if
is
you give her, imagine what she
overworked.
could do with gender if she had gender alone
Yes, can
to
we
focus
pause and
on.
say happy birthday to her? Yesterday was her birthday.
Oh,
So
happy belated birthday
yes,
to her.
birthday to her. Yes, she is working. And I was looking at the clip that they post when her staff was surprising her. And she
Hmm.
was saying to them, I'm going to have to stop now, come I have to go chair meeting. So even on her birthday, she was busy to go to work. So
Yeah.
I'm picking her up, appreciating the effort she's putting on. But I think they should split up her
Yeah.
ministry.
She love her entertainment and her sports too. So
That
I don't
is the
really know
problem.
how
So,
she feel about
that
leaving
is
them.
the
There's
challenge
something there
for
and go
you.
strictly over gender.
She might just one beat if you could suggest it. Because I know she's passionate about
Yes.
everything that is on her plate right now. I know
Yes.
she's extremely passionate about it. Maybe they
Yes.
need some PS to work with her for different PS, one different PS. I don't know. But
Maybe she
it's a
need more. Maybe that is one of the ministries that need more than one PS.
yes. I am thinking so too. I
I'm
think
I'm
they
just saying.
did
I
that.
I don't get me wrong. Pestorp, if you're listening, we go way back. that's,
And he's
that's
doing a good job.
he also does a great job in that ministry. But I
Yes.
do think that ministry is just a little bit that I've had to work with that ministry before, and I can say they are a ministry that work. I not in the, there are a set of people who take what they are doing very seriously.
Seriously.
I'm not saying that other ministries and don't do it, but I've had first an experience with this
Yeah.
ministry, and I can vouch to say that this ministry
Is
is
really,
making
really
strides. I
working.
think
Really
it's just a little bit
effort in.
too, they're just a little bit too thin spread. And
Mhm.
even if it's just a little bit more shuffling around there.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. So we're commending them for the work, but we think,
Yeah.
maybe if it wasn't so many things on that one plate,
Yeah.
and the minister having to bite this, bite that, and
Yeah.
sometimes she can't get it through properly.
Yeah.
I think that's a challenge. For in my headspace, it's a challenge. But I do
Yes.
appreciate the effort that have been happening. And so I remind my guests, my listeners again, you're listening to Dr. Asha Mwendo on Healing Moments. My guest this evening is Nastasia Robinson. And this week's episode is brought to you by Plant Gallery out of Carey Park. Yes, my friend, Lady Nastasia, tell us,
Yes.
continue the conversation as we're looking at domestic violence, intimate partner violence, and the laws that we have that support all of this. How do we move forward with the situation that we are in now?
Lots of
I
amendments
wanted
need
to
to
talk
take
a little
place.
bit more maybe about the Sexual Offense Act and some of what we will see coming in it, and some of the gaps that presently that we can continue our advocacy conversation.
Right.
The gaps we need to be filling, and give us some solutions that we need to be advocating for as we go forward.
No, so we have the sexual harassment bill coming.
Mhm.
Welcome. We love to see it personally. But we do, and so what this act will do when it comes into effect is
Mhm.
it will protect not just women again, but
Right.
again, women are disproportionately affected by these things, and so we have to stress that. Okay, so what it will do is it will clamp down on sexual harassments in the home, in institutions, in workplaces, in schools, so and any other kind of institutional structure, right? So it will apply to, for example, at children's home. It will protect the little girls and boys in the children's home. Now, sexual harassment means any unwanted sexual advances that is that goes from one person to another. So whether it might be baby come here or asking for sexual favors in order to get some kind of benefit, telling someone that if they do XYZ sexual things to you, then you're going to have an easier way in the workplace or in the school or in the institution that you exist in, that sort of thing. And we know that these things are a problem. It
Yes.
also speaks to just the lewd comments that people make at you when you're walking about your business in the halls. You know, what we would love to see is if there were stronger, if this act was not just applied in these institutional settings, but
That is
also outer road,
on
you
the
know,
general space.
outer road in the
Mhm.
general spaces, because that is where a lot of sexual harassment takes place.
Of
That
course.
on the road is where women are terrified of walking. I can tell you personally, I don't walk past groups of men.
They say the things they say, and some of them dare to touch you.
It's not even about what them say. It is that I fear that they will touch me
Mhm. Yes. So, and some of them
because I'm a
really.
very small person in stature, and I'm not going to overestimate. No, no, I'm very small, and I don't
Yes.
know what it is, but men tend to think that smaller women, they have some kind of, them can overpower. Listen,
Yes.
not that they can, but because me no want end up in a half a tree court or any other court
Mhm.
because we stab up or otherwise maim somebody, I try my best not to walk. It's so uncomfortable walking in general
Yes.
spaces. So many women have the same stories of not wanting to even go to a police station to make a police
Right.
report because of what the police will say to them, not wanting to go visit a family member at a police at a station lockup, or at a prison because of how they will be approached by certain. It's
Yes.
very exhausting existing in this country as a woman. You
It's
fear.
it is unfair for you to be walking on the road and then you have to make a report and someone asks, "What were you wearing?"
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
On.
And you always get asked that, what were you wearing? And sometimes it's not, sometimes the police officer asks you that to say, all right, describe for me what you did, for the evidence purposes. But by the time you go to court, the lawyer for the accused person is
Yes.
automatically and always, I don't know how them not get tired of this trope yet, almost always brings it down to making your sexual assault your fault.
That
You
is
did
it.
go and yard, you did wear the tight up shots until the same like the skirt, so you wear the skirt 15 times every time you pass him. It is
Yes,
exhausting.
it
It is
is. And women
absolutely
have been
exhausting.
being harassed from eons when they have on sackcloth.
Yes.
If they decide they're going to trouble you, they're going to trouble you.
I unfortunately I said, look, the schoolgirl with them at Tekwe and a high human traffic or doing
Yes.
all, she is a child. It
Yes.
cannot be what I am wearing if I'm as affected as other girls, children,
Right.
7 year
Mhm.
old. It can't be. And so it will have to get to a place in this country and around the world where we stop blaming victims for
Yes.
the things that happen to them.
Yes.
And that's the sort of thing that we have to live with when we as women experience violence in this country, unfortunately.
And
And so we look forward
unfortunately,
to the sexual
yes,
harassment bill.
looking forward to it. And because unfortunately, women have been also so schooled that
Yes,
they take responsibility for
yes,
these harassment. And then you have other women who blame the women for being harassed
preach,
because
preach.
they have been so schooled and cultured and nurtured to believe that the
Yeah.
man cannot control himself
That's
and
the
he
rape
will
culture
never be
talking.
and he will never be able to control himself. So it becomes a woman's responsibility not to be a bait.
I want to say something though, and I think I said it to you in our conversation earlier today, but I think it's worth saying again and every time I have this conversation. I don't see this kind of interrogation or this kind of protection for any other category of abusers or criminals.
No.
When when someone abuses a woman, right? All sorts of theories come up to his defense.
Mm-hmm.
Thing from what the woman was wearing, from how he was socialized as a child that caused this,
Yes.
from how she took his things and she knows that he's emotionally fragile. All sorts of theories come up and they all go toward explaining and humanizing the abuser. I see no other category of criminal that
Yes.
gets this kind of passion and sympathy from society. And I think
Yes.
that is part of the problem. They
Nastasia, if
don't
I
see
hear one
anything
more
wrong with
time,
what they are doing because
hey,
we continue to
it is
humanize them.
that is it. If I hear one more time about toxic masculinity is what causing this, hello, are you suggesting to me? I hear you talking about, oh, because the men were not cultured to express their emotions. Hello, I am a psychologist. I am a counselor. If you're having problem with your emotions, please see me. Don't beat my sister.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. See me. I will help you
But
to learn
but
to
not
cry.
but funny thing when you actually, that's a blanket and very
Listen
lazy
to me.
approach,
It's a cop out.
because if you really want to investigate abusers, when you actually look at the profile of the persons who abuse women, is
Mhm.
not the sad little boy who never get to cry when him fall down.
Listen to me.
Is men who grow up in stable nuclear family homes that do these sorts of things. So
Yes.
oftentimes it's not as simple as not having to repress your emotions as a
Listen
child.
to me.
Should not be the outlet for that in any case. That shouldn't be something on your list of defenses, you
Why
know?
is it? My question to you, Nastasia, as a legal luminary,
Yes.
why is it when a man hits a woman, he can be excused for how he was brought up? But when the boy thief government things, it him brought up sin have nothing to do with it, him go to
Not
prison.
at all.
Listen
Not
to
at
me.
all.
When you kill some big shot people per roadside, you hunt them down, you send them to prison. They're
Yeah.
brought up, they not have nothing to do with it. But immediately as him lick people, girl pick me, him brought up, see, and him inability to cry come into play.
And it is because we see domestic violence and violence against women, particularly, as
Yes,
something social, not
yes,
as something criminal. We see it as something social. So when we talk about crime rate in general,
yes,
and that's a that's a whole other thing where people are trying to make it seem like domestic violence is not that big. We have violence against everybody. Okay. But that's a discussion we'll come to, right?
yes, yes.
But
And
when we are talking about
yes.
the murder rate, for example,
Okay, because I was just going to go there.
right? When we're talking about the murder rate, for example, yes,
Mm-hmm.
we look at things societal like conflict resolution and that we need that, yes, across the board where
Yes.
violence is concerned, we need better conflict resolution.
Yes.
But you don't get the same kind of sympathy, even when you hear, once it is a it's a intimate partner type
Yes.
of situation, it evokes a different kind of emotion. So if, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound insensitive, but I'm just trying to draw parallels here.
Yes.
You hear that gunmen go into a house and kill a grandmother and her children, right? Terrible, awful, and we're all rightfully upset. And yeah, everything bad must happen to them gunman there when we find them,
Of course.
right?
Mm-hmm.
When a woman is killed by her husband, the emotions are different. We start
Yes.
to question the woman. We start
Mhm.
to question, but I wish she could have do make him kill her.
It's always her.
You understand? And it's those kinds of asking those kinds of questions continue to humanize abusers and to continue, it continues to give them, it continues to give them the validation that they need, right?
Yes.
And
To
them they need the
continue.
validation. And what it also does is it takes away from the victim's experience because a part of the issue is that the woman humanizes her abuser so much because
Yes.
your abuser is already someone that you know and love.
Right.
So
And
you
woman,
already are grappling
right.
with that on its own. And
Emotional
then you hear
challenge.
society telling you that you're being a malicious person because you're talking out against this man. You know? It's disheartening.
It
It really is.
is.
Yes. So I'm looking forward to the changes that are to happen with respect to the laws, with the sexual harassment, will the sexual harassment bill. Hopefully, it will be passed and come into effect with the suggested changes.
Yes.
Domestic Violence Act, we hope, as the minister has announced, the amendments will be made and will be made in short order to give give the act more teeth, to offer more protection, to offer our women and girls more protection.
That
Um,
is it. Yes.
homes. Yeah.
Because Nastasia, as we are here and we are talking about it, and I'm thinking about all the gaps and that like a bit of $10,000 and all them stuff.
Mm,
All of
yeah.
these amendments that needs to happen. But however, we can't go to amendments of the old laws until we fix up the ones we're working on now. And
Yeah.
if when we look at everything that is going on, is enough work needs to be done.
It is.
And unfortunately, in 2021, we are still fighting for society to accept that intimate partner violence is different
Yeah.
from general violence. And for me, unfortunately, and with all due respect to Dr. Chang, I have a lot of respect for that gentleman. He gave me my first holiday work, get me check for $300. I still remember him. Yes, a whole check. My
Oh
first
my God!
check.
You should have framed it, but you
Really,
never know at the
and I
time
didn't
that
want the
he was.
money. Really, and I didn't.
Yes. Take a picture of the check and frame it.
I should have. So he gave my
Mhm.
first little job when I was in Lucy, and I do appreciate that. And he helped me some other things as life went on. So with all due respect to him and my love for him, the other day they were talking, and him, Prime Minister, everybody else making it look like, oh, violence is down. It's only these we're having, and classifying the criminalities to
Yeah.
make some look less than. It not
Yeah.
fair, it not right, it very wrong, and it sends a wrong message.
It is, and it does, especially because what is happening now is that because of certain interventions that have happened over the last, I'll say, 20 decades, more women are coming forward.
Yes.
A little bit late, but there are still not enough women coming forward, But because of the campaigns that would have happened that informed young girls from long time, talk up, speak up, and I think there's a different kind of generational parenting that's
Yes.
happening, where parents are encouraging their young girls to come forward when they're abused. That
Boys.
sort of thing is
Yes.
happening. But what I don't appreciate is our politicians or people with influence in this country
Yes.
saying things like, oh, GBV is not on the rise. Not because you're hearing about these things in the
Listen
media,
to
don't
me.
mean it's on the rise. Okay, it's not on the rise, but it is still a significant issue.
It
And
is.
it's still a huge chunk of our violence. And you know why it also does seem that bad? It is because you have most intimate partner violence issues over in the family court
Yes.
not being considered criminal.
Criminal, right, as criminality. Yes. They're not looking at the hours, the manpower, the hours, the money lost when a woman
Yeah.
have to deal with domestic violence. The
Yep.
impact of the criminality on the children's
Yep.
psyche, emotional. They are not looking at the big picture. The value of the criminality that take place is diminished and not seen as important. Maybe because, as you say, it's not going to main court. They look at it
Yeah.
as less than. It's not being reported on the front page of the paper unless it happened to certain people or it happened real bad, like the young lady who got her belly cut out in Morris. If it is not these big sensational happenings,
But
you
it
don't hear a lot
happens.
about it. And then even if you hear about it, it becomes 9-day wonder.
It happens. It happens a lot when you go into communities and you hear how many young girls are molested, and how many of them actually made reports. Because here's another thing: you
Yes.
make the reports to police stations. I have clients that I am running behind police for
Mm.
because no arrest or investigation has taken place outside of going to the police station and making a report.
Yes.
Thing don't
I've
happen.
heard one woman told me that when she said to the police, how no go for the man yet? They heard the response that the police made at the time was, you know much crime happened in the country?
Or, we have to do our investigation.
Listen to me.
But when you check it out, not one person in the community has seen a police come to talk to them to investigate
About that matter.
anything. The police don't go and try talk to know what kind of investigation you're doing. How
Yes,
can you
psychic
investigate a crime inside
investigation.
of the police station?
Mm-hmm.
How? And so those are some of the challenges we have as providers of services for persons affected by GBV. A lot of it is that it is seen as a social, a domesticated, a socialization issue,
It is
not as a
minimized.
criminal issue.
And that also affects women making the attempt to report.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
it feels futile
It
in
feels
doing this,
futile.
and you're not taken seriously. You are blamed, and then what happened to, because it is not taken serious and treated well, you become even more victimized by this man that you already report because nothing is happening, and so
Yep.
he also feels strengthened
Yep.
and feel that he can go
And
ahead
he will
and
straight
do
up
it.
tell you, I'm not afraid of police because I'm having police friend them.
That again too. And it is true. We have wonderful police. I'm not going to knock all of them. We have wonderful police. We have some who are
We
overworked.
do, we
They're
do,
best,
we
but
do.
we need to have it
But
more
let me tell you something.
streamlined. Yes.
If you have a bag of tomato and one rotten, guess what happened?
It's not spoil the whole bag.
The whole bag will go spoil. Or the
Yes.
whole bag, even if the whole bag not spoil, it's gonna start smell like the one bad
Yes.
one.
And a mine shop, you don't even look if no good one in there, just throw away the whole bag.
There you go.
And so
And
that
I
is
think that is a part of it. That's a part of it. And so a lot of sensitization and retraining of our officers and our first responders need to take place a lot. And so that's part of what we're working on at JFJ as well. We're trying to stop talking from our soapbox on these little
Mhm.
these programs are nice and wonderful, but we're trying to also move out into communities to encourage and strengthen women and girls who are affected by gender-based violence, but also to sensitize our officers and the persons who respond to our women. You know, the other day I had a training simply with police officers to say, listen, the way you sit down when a rape victim is sitting in front of you can impact how much details she tell you.
True.
The way how you clear your throat when she says something, even if it's unintentional, can
Mhm.
impact the confidence that she has in the system. And
Yes.
so you, as the person in charge, you have to be mindful. You know,
Yes.
you can't ask her certain things like, so why you never leave him?
Yes.
Yes, we're curious people. We all want to know the details. We love gossip as a people.
Not true.
But when
First
somebody,
thing comes
we
to my
all
mind.
want to know the story. Think about it. When you hear somebody dead, as your heart hurt for the whoever dead, but what happened to your brain? You want to know how they dead, right?
Oh, what
Sensitive
is this?
question. We
Yes.
want the details. We are a details kind of people. But when you're in certain position and you're dealing with certain
You have to be
sensitive
mindful.
issues and sensitive persons, you kind of have to quell your own innate um need for
Curiosity.
information in that
Mhm.
sense. Yes, you need to ask the victim certain questions, but there's a way that you ask these questions to encourage confidence
Yes.
in the victim. And there's a way that you do that that makes the victim just want to get up and come out and never ever come back to the station.
That is
That
it.
is why sometimes when you bring the matter to court, the victim don't come court because she remember say when you did in at the police station, you did go on her back and she could have
Attitude.
hear you and your colleague them and laugh at her.
Mm-hmm. You walk into the station and your man just lick me and you ask, then that you wear come a station?
Yes.
Like you were making
Or
an
it's
appointment.
curfew time, me say I have to come back till tomorrow. But the man, and I have to go back, Miss Disaster Risk Management Act.
Mm-hmm.
You
And
know?
I was saying to a lady the other day, they have to go lock me up, because I now go back home. And then when they lock me up again, me have to go press, have other issues now, because you shouldn't lock me up either. These are, we are in crazy times.
Yeah.
I admit things are happening. Thank God for social media. More things are being
Yes.
publicized and the issues
Yes.
are being aired. And thank
Yes.
God for Healing Moments on Fit FM. We continue to live these issues and the other persons who are raising the advocacy voice. So I am going to now take my lens a little bit off what we were talking about and focus a little bit on you and JFJ. Because JFJ is one of those organizations over the years when I was very active in HIV and all of that, that we have always had as our supporting partners in advocacy.
Mm-hmm.
There are some advocacy group, they can't even call me. because I just see them as a joke because they don't go talk when they suit them. But I always like that JFJ most of the time because we're not perfect neither. None of us
No,
are.
we're not. We
Right.
are a trans organization.
Right. And I also realize that you guys are, you know, an NGO that needs funding and all of that. So sometimes it affects how you have to operate. So what I want you to do, you know, for a few minutes before we move on, as I will remind my guests and my listeners this evening, you are listening to Healing Moments on Fit FM 96.7. I am your host, Dr. Asha Mwendo, with my guest, Nastasia Robinson, and you are being listening to us this evening on the kind partnership of Plant Gallery out of Cary Park. I will tell you a little bit more about them afterwards. So, Nastasia, what I want you to do for me
Yes.
now is talk a little bit about JFJ, the services you provide, and how you can help us to continue speaking and standing and supporting, and how you help the victims to become survivors.
Thank you for that. So, Jamaicans for Justice has been around since the 90s, the very, very early 90s. From when I was a child, I've actually always dreamed of working for Jamaicans for Justice, and so me working here is
Here you are
one
now.
of those dream come true things. So, Jamaicans for Justice is a non-government organization, and we focus on human rights advocacy and human rights. Focus on human rights generally, advocating for general human rights, right? So our current focus, we have a focus on providing services for key populations and vulnerable groups. The key or so and we do this because we recognize that these groups are disenfranchised in the way that they can access certain justice systems and certain services. So we partner with our other groups to ensure that these groups don't get left behind. They're a part of society. They have their human rights as much as any of the rest of us do. And so we have to ensure that their human rights are met as well. So we focused on police killings, as you all know, that Jamaicans for Justice has for its entire existence has had an interest in police killing and police brutality. So we do work with Indicom to ensure to invest. Well, let me not say we investigate, but we provide family support and court support to victims, to families who are victims of police killings. With our gender-based violence project, we provide services to women and girls who are affected by gender-based violence. So we assist them in courts by getting protection or occupation orders or other orders, by providing legal support if there is a criminal element of the matter. We assist them because in that instance they're not the prosecutors; they are the complainants, and so they may not necessarily, they might still feel intimidated by the court process. So we provide that kind of service. We also have our family support groups for our families that are impacted by police brutality and police killings, as well as we have our victim support group that is for our survivors, and that's a healing space for women who have been affected by gender-based violence. We also now have an interest in mentally ill persons who are in prison. You know, coming out of the Noel Chambers issue, that is a matter that we really hit it on our radar, and it is something that we are militantly pursuing as well. And in general, human rights issues. When we say human rights issues, we're talking about instances where the state violates or fails to do something or fail to do something that it ought to have done, as as a state. With the state has certain responsibilities to you as citizens, and so we basically act as a check and balance for the state to ensure that the state is carrying out its mandate, and ensure that persons aren't being unfairly treated by the state.
Okay. Yeah, and that's a lot you guys are doing. And so how much do the victims pay you for work?
Oh, no, the victims do not pay. I actually have a colleague who called me the free lawyer and called JFJ the free legal service people. Because of the nature of um of our advocacy and because of the group that we support, it would be difficult for us to actually ask our clients to pay anything.
And the dogs agree.
And the dogs agree. Particularly Azaria.
I specifically asked the question that you can answer that component that persons know that they are not
Right.
for the
So
service.
no, we don't charge at Jamaicans for Justice.
Your supporters are advocating what
I am so sorry. She's quite. She's very a very defensive tiny dog. So I think she senses that someone might be coming inside, and so she's just being very loud about it.
Yes, she's doing what you have her there for, right? And so we have to give each thing or person the right to be. Leave the dog alone.
I guess I have to give her the right to be right. So at Jamaicans for Justice, we don't charge.
Stop your dog, man, girl. Just leave the dog alone. That's all right.
All right, thank you. So we don't charge our clients, and it's because we serve such a vulnerable group. We couldn't ask a woman coming in needing our help to say, well, this is our legal fees. Then our purpose would be not, we couldn't ask somebody who is living with HIV, who's had their human rights violated, you need to chunk up some money. Yes. We couldn't ask a trans person who already is significantly disenfranchised by the state to cough up some money in order for us to act for them. So Jamaicans for Justice operate on a humanitarian type level. We don't charge our clients. We depend on the kind hearts of donors to fund and keep our doors open.
Nastasia, before you go on, I want to read a comment that I have here coming up for you. I want to remind our guests, if you are listening in to us, you can send in your questions. You can call us on 876-482-4944 or 876-317-1991. If you call me on my phone, which I see I'm getting some calls, I cannot answer you and no one will hear you. Call on 482-4944 or 317-1991. You put 876 before those two numbers. And Miss Joy Lash says, wow, your guest Nastasia is fully loaded with a lot of information, as I'm sure the public isn't aware of these services. Get it out there, ladies. Thank you, Miss Joy Lash. So you see, persons are listening in. I noticed I was getting a number of calls on my personal line from people who know me, but I'm asking you, please give the calls on 876-482-4944 or 876-317-1991, and we will able to take your calls and share them. And so thank you for the interest, but I'm reminding you of the numbers. Okay, Nastasia, let's continue as we come down to gravy, as they would say. Little bit more on, before you close off, on if a woman or anyone that is their rights are being tampered with and they don't know what to do, how do they get in touch with JFJ?
All right. So Jamaicans for Justice is located at 2 Fagan Avenue. That is off Grand Spain. So we're located where the people can find us. So we are located at 2 Fagan Avenue, Grand Spain. And you can reach us at 615-5032 or 615-5024. You can also reach us on our WhatsApp line at 322-8205. And that's our WhatsApp. Someone will be able to, you can reach out to us on WhatsApp. You can find us on Facebook or Twitter. Let me not say Twitter. We can find us on Facebook. You can call us. Our office hours are 9 to 5, Mondays to Fridays. But our WhatsApp line is open and you can reach out to us. You can also reach out to my personal WhatsApp line, and that is 558-9993. Very easy to remember. That's
Mhm.
558-9993, and that's how you will reach me personally.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Nastasia, Healing Moments want to thank you for partnering with us this evening for this
Thank you for having
conversation.
me.
I tell you, child, there's so much more. We have learned a lot this evening, and there's so much more we could talk about. But time will not allow us to continue talking like we have the whole evening for ourselves. But I want to thank you. And of course, we will call upon you again for anything legal that we need to talk about.
As
I
long as
want,
I have the knowledge. I
yes.
don't know. For example,
And
don't
I
call
know
me if
that
you're trying to
you
sell a
will
land.
ask.
I don't know how to do that.
No, I'm not going to ask you about no land unless this is piece of
Me no, know-
that is
I
being
don't know
asked.
them things there.
Oh, but I know maybe you'll be able to point us in the right
I will
direction.
point you to the right direction. And I
Amen.
know a few things about selling land, and I know general land law, but me just not that I can't
Not
do it.
right
I
there,
just
yeah.
human rights is my thing, and I sit where I know I can sit.
Amen. And we each must learn to do that. Not try to do everything all at once.
Amen.
Amen. I
Amen.
want to thank Auntie Joy as we continue the conversation for making this link up. And we are now good friends, and hopefully one day we'll become best friends as we continue to advocate on the same platform for the changes we seek to see happening in the future. We are fighting for them today. Thank you for being part of the advocacy fight for domestic violence, intimate partner violence, and for supporting just anyone whose human right is being affected. Love
Thank you
you,
so much
girl.
for having
Walk
me.
good. And Healing Moments will touch base again some other evening. Thank you, my child.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, and to your crew.
Okay,
Take care.
bye bye. As we transition, listen to this as we transition over into more things.
Praise the Lord, come join this, come praise the Lord, and clap your hands. If you believe He made you free, just move your feet to the beat. Come praise the Lord and sing your song. Come praise the Lord, everyone. If you believe He made you free, just move your feet to the beat.
When I think about all you done for me, when I think about your love that made me free, when I think about it, I just wave my hand. Get up off my feet and start to do my dance. Oh yeah. Come on. Come on and lift your hands. Come on and get your praise on. If you believe it, come on with me. Oh yeah, yeah.
I want to thank Nastasia Robinson for sharing with us this evening. I want to remind you that you're listening to Healing Moments on Fit FM 96.7. I'm your host, Dr. Asha Mwendo, and you're listening on Fit FM 96.7. This evening's program is brought to you by Plant Gallery. They do have plants for sale and they do rental for all occasions. They are out of Carey Park, and the contact persons are Clifton Davy and Faye Davy. Their numbers are 471-444-8 and 876-793-9132. You can send them an email on faydavy@yahoo.com. And remember, they are doing a special now for Mother's Day coming up, and they have prices starting as low as $2,000 up. They will wrap your plan for you. They provide plans for birthdays. If you want to visit the sick and take a plan for graduation, and specifically at this time for Mother's Day. Let me tell you some of the plants I saw when I went there. They have orchids, ferns, they have ficus, they have philodendrons, they have the agglomania, I like those. They have ZZ, begonia, monstera, and they have a whole lot of other, they have all the simple croton. Who remember croton? I grew up with crop, not true. And for me, I want to tell you two of the healing plants that they have that is good to have in your house for cleaning of the air and for purification of breathing. They have peace lilies and they have the sansevieria, or we call it the snake plant. So they have that, and they do have palm and other plants for rental. So I'm reminding you, you are to support them at Plant Gallery, and then the contact information, Clifton and Faye Davy, and 876-471-4488 and 876-793-9132, and they are in Cary Park. Give them a link up. They will deliver, they will support you, and you will get good treatment. I am telling you, and they give you nice plant wrapping and all of that. So go out and support them. And I really do want to thank them for partnering with Healing Moments this evening as our community partners. We are glad to have them. And guess what? If you're listening this evening and you have your little businesses and you want to partner with us at Healing Moments, we welcome you. Just give us a link up on the numbers I gave you before, or you can call me directly at 876-870-2284. And of course, we will talk and we will see how we partner together as we create the change today that we want to live tomorrow. Okay, so we're going to give you our affirmation for this evening. And, for me, the affirmation really stands out because of after I prepared my affirmation, a link that someone sent me, I almost didn't do mine and said, let's play that link. But I didn't get asked permission to play the link. So I am going to give you my affirmation that I had prepared. It says, choose whose hands you are in. Choose whose hands you are in will give you more meaningful power to what is in your hands. David placed himself into God's hands, and a slingshot and a stone saved a nation. Moses placed himself into God's hands, and a rod helped to free the children of Israel from slavery and parted the Red Sea. Esther placed herself in God's hands and stood, and it saved her people from death. So I am encouraging you to place yourself into God's hands and watch what's in your hands transform your world and create fountains that you and others can drink and be refreshed. Whose hands are you in gives value. Whose hands you are in gives value to what is in your hands. Today, choose wisely for tomorrow how you will drink. Well, good. Thank you for listening to Healing Moments on Fit FM 96.7. I am your host, Dr. Asha Mwendo, and this week's session is brought to you by Plant Gallery. Stay blessed. See you next week when we have another exciting program lined up for you. Blessed be.